As if the injuries weren't enough, this week, 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks, the best 2 wide receivers, and the number 1 tight end are all on bye. Plus, we have another London game. This is shaping up to be a small and depressing main slate, but there are still some really quality plays, and we're here to help you find them. What is up? Happy Friday morning. If you are listening at the show's debut, this is the DFS Academy presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Ryan Weisse. We are here to help you build some wonderful GPP and cash lineups. When it comes to GPP, we lean on Kelly in Phoenix. How are you doing tonight, Kelly Singh?
I am super good. My daughter decided to make a visit from college 2 hours away. She's like, I don't have class tomorrow. So I'm very happy now.
The holiday caught me by surprise. My freshman son, while I was driving him to school this morning, was like, I don't have school tomorrow. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. But I never take his word for it, even though he's probably right. So I was like, oh, you don't have school tomorrow. It's Veterans Day, Austin. So, thank you. I worked in banking for many years. I thought Veterans Day was always a Monday because we celebrated it on Monday. I thought, but
I think it's always the 11th, but maybe not.
Tomorrow's the 10th. So no, that one's debunked. or today, for those who are listening to the show as it premieres, we clearly record on a Thursday night, and none of us are excited to be watching this Thursday night game. But I've already mentioned his name. When it comes to the cash lineups, we have Austin Amandolia. Austin, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm also not taking Veterans Day off, so I didn't know that this was a holiday. But good. I had a killer week in cash this week. I cashed in all of my lineups, which is the best week I've had this season. Feeling really great about that. CJ Stroud just came through real nice.
Oh, you guys did great with your picks last week. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I was gonna say, I'm going the way of your prop bets, where I started this season so hot and I have cooled so tremendously in the worst possible way. And then the problem is, and everybody who watches this show can feel this, is when you start off hot, you start putting more and more money in. And then when you get cold, the profits go away very quickly.
Yep.
And that's what I'm dealing with. So let's
that.
talk about last week. Let's talk about the rookie. Last week's Millionaire Maker lineup definitely contained the rookie and definitely contained a manager who believed in the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, Bijan Robinson, Rachaad White, CeeDee Lamb, Tank Dell, and Noah Brown, and Dalton Schultz. They just said, I don't care, take my money, but that's not how it worked out. Josh Jacobs in the Cleveland Browns defense. This was apparently, Austin, wonderful note here, the number 1 ranked DFS player in the world at one point, now ranked number 4. Max entered 150 entries. I'll let you guys. Any thoughts, Austin?
Well, when you get 150 entries and, probably 10 to 20 of them have CJ Stroud in them, you're bound to have one of them that's going to do pretty well. I mean, the thing that surprised me the most about this lineup, frankly, is the fact that Bijan Robinson was involved in it, because he was not great. And so you would think that would sink a tournament lineup. And the fact that the Millionaire Maker winner had Bijan in his lineup, in their lineup, I'm impressed.
Well, when you have the number 1 quarterback, I think number 1 wide receiver, number 3 wide receiver, and number 1 tight end, you can survive Bijan Robinson. I think that's the takeaway there. Kelly, if you're building 150 max entry, are at least 32 of your lineups built around every single team playing that week, or 28 of your lineups, whatever, for the main slate? Are you building lineups just around every team, just on some what if shit? Is that how you would approach a situation if you had infinite dollars and were building 150 lineups?
No, if I had infinite dollars and I was building 150 lineups, I would probably allow some sort of tool or algorithm to spit them out for me. Yeah. But it would start with a core that I start with every week. So
see, I was thinking the same thing. And shameless plug, Football Guys, great multi-lineup builder. I would go in and probably do a stack I don't think I would go. I don't think I would go a triple stack, let alone a quadruple stack. But I would go CJ Stroud, and I probably would have went Nico Collins because that's my luck. So I would have said CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. Except I think you have to put 3 things in. So I would have put my defense, or maybe I'd have picked the team's defense and done that, and just let it build lineups around each one of those. But I don't know, man. That's a life that I certainly don't live. And even if I was independently wealthy, I don't know that I would live that. But clearly it's working out very, very well for this person. Enough counting their money. Let's get to the top of the class. These are the players costing 8,000 or more that we're targeting in cash. You're going to get those from Austin, and tournaments. You're going to get those from Kelly. Austin, get us started. It's a guy the fantasy world was missing last week.
Yeah, we have him back though. Christian McCaffrey, he's the most expensive player on the slate, and I want him in my cash lineups. He is 9,200 on DraftKings and a whopping $10,500 on FanDuel. And yes, my cash lineup currently has Christian McCaffrey in it. I'm making it work. Basically, it's Christian McCaffrey. He's got an 18 game streak of getting in the end zone. So it's basically a guaranteed touchdown at this point. So I'm going with that. And the Jaguars are not doing great against running backs. They're giving up the 4th most points to running backs since week 6. And they've been pretty good against the pass. So I'm thinking that the 49ers are going to need to lean on McCaffrey. Coming out of the bye week, he should continue to dominate. I feel dumb for ever thinking that Elijah Mitchell was going to eat into his workload. And
even when he was hurt, the backups didn't matter. Like, it's just crazy.
So I am now just leaning into the fact that I was wrong and playing Christian McCaffrey every chance I can.
Yeah. Don't get hung up on your priors. When we do our consensus rankings, well, when I do my consensus rankings for football guys, we have to rank 12 running backs. And so typically what I do is I use the wonderful matchup tool that I put out on Club Fantasy. And I look for the 12 running backs I know I want. And then I put them on their own little spreadsheet, and I try to like mix them up based on pay. And for DraftKings, I focus on PPR. For FanDuel, I focus on touchdowns. When I saw that price for Christian McCaffrey, I didn't know what to do with him. Like, I instantly wanted to put him at 12 because I'm like, he has to be in my top 12, but Jesus, at 10,500, like, you can't put Christian McCaffrey at 12. Bless you, Kelly. And so I slowly was moving him up my rankings, and I think he still came in at 4th at that obscene salary. So I get it. And in everything I do there, I focus more on the GPP stuff, not so much on cash. So in cash, whatever works, right? So but yeah, you can't deny it. And Kelly, you have one of my favorite players. Kelly, I've noticed it's a very Detroit Lions focused show for you that we'll talk more about later. But the Sun God.
Yeah. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8.3 on DraftKings and 8.6 on FanDuel. So that's pretty interesting when they're that close together.
Yep, we've talked about that. It feels
super pricey on DraftKings, and maybe it makes it feel like more of a value on FanDuel. But the rostership projections are around 15%. So the highest rostership projections right now are 20+% for Joe Mixon, just to give you some perspective. And there are a lot of juicy choices this week for wide receiver. So you're going to see rostership spread out across a lot of wide receivers this week. So I don't hate the 15% when we look at the value that we get from the Sun God. He's looking at his 4th game in a row with 100 or more receiving yards. He's had 100 receiving or more receiving yards in 5 of the last 6 games. So I'm feeling pretty good about that this week. Also his 9th game in a row with 5 or more catches.
And going up against the Chargers, you have to feel pretty good about it. They're not slowing anybody down.
No.
I mean, obviously the Jets didn't do well against them, but it's the Jets. So I think we feel a lot better about Detroit. We certainly feel a lot better about Detroit at home. And I have a sneaking suspicion, folks, that won't be the last time we talk about the Lions in this show. Let's get to the band nerds. These are the $6,000 to $8,000 players. We joke that these are the ones who spend too much time practicing their instruments to be top of the class. Kelly, I'm going to let you get us started. You guys have a player in common here, so I'll let you get the ball rolling and let Austin bring it home.
Oh, wow. Okay. DeAndre Hopkins. I'll just spill the beans right now.
There you go.
You can't pass up on DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to tell you why. Because I did 1 week. I left him on my bench, and that was the week that he got his groove back.
Yeah.
So none of that, kids. 6K on DraftKings. What? 7.1K on FanDuel. This could be his third game in a row with 60 or more receiving yards. Prop bet. Projected for 14 fantasy points on DraftKings, 12 on FanDuel. And here's the thing, everybody's in on DeAndre Hopkins. So weigh that out as you build your lineup.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Amon-Ra and DeAndre Hopkins in either or is putting them both in the same lineup with such high ownership almost making it like nobody's putting both in their lineup sort of thing?
That's like a super great way to think about it. Is it maybe for some people an either or? Same with my next pick, which is also very high in rostership. And the reason that I'm sharing these are because of the upside and the points value. I feel like sometimes there are players that you just can't skip on. Just like Austin wants to play McCaffrey, some very same reasons. So we have Joe Mixon, 6.2 on DraftKings, 7.7. Explosive week 9. The Houston defense allows loads of points to running backs. He's had 60 or more scrimmage yards in 8 games this season, basically the whole season.
Yeah.
This could be his third game in a row with a rushing touchdown. Prop bet. And that's the thing, though, is everybody's on board with this. That will be our most rostered wide receiver this week.
Running back.
Sorry.
No,
my
you're
brain
fine.
is
You just went from,
that will be our most rostered running back this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going with the high rostership. Mixon over 20%. So I was doing my rankings again, or working on them this morning, and Fantasy Pros kept yelling at me that I didn't have Mixon ranked high enough. But hearing the stats that you're breaking out, that I know he's been inefficient, but the volume's just been there for him.
The volume is there. Yep.
And as you brought up, Rachaad White got loose against Houston last week. Austin, I'm going to have you start with DeAndre Hopkins because you made a joke last week. I think it was that Tampa Bay's secondary plays with their helmets on backwards, and now you're just eliminating them from the equation. So.
I don't think that was me that made that joke, but that is a
I swore joke. It was you, but yeah, okay.
They definitely are a secondary that I am willing to pick on because, oh my word, did CJ Stroud just like light the world on fire against them? And so did Desmond Ridder a few weeks ago, and he's not even a starting quarterback anymore. So I feel decent about Will Levis's opportunity to have a decent day. I'm not expecting him to repeat what CJ Stroud just did in any way, but he's also been peppering DeAndre Hopkins with targets since he became the starter. And given that this is a plus matchup for Hopkins in general, and he's getting that target volume, I really like him. I think he is cash viable this week. He also, that's all my points actually about that. And
that's
then
right. Actually, before you go on, I want to ask you both a question. I'll start with you. I think the answer for you is no, and where Kelly is a maybe. With the love for DeAndre Hopkins and with what we saw CJ Stroud, is there a world where you're plugging Will Levis in as your cash quarterback, Austin?
Cash quarterback? I thought about it
okay.
A hot second. But I ultimately said no because there are other quarterbacks that I feel are safer. I need a little bit more certainty from Will Levis before I hit the smash button there because he's got to score touchdowns, right, for it to pay off. And he got really lucky his first start with those 3 bombs to DeAndre Hopkins. Teams are not going to let him do that every week. I really don't understand why AJ Terrell let him do that.
Yeah.
Best cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons, just getting eaten alive by Will Levis.
Rough game for a Falcons fan there.
Rough game. Don't understand what happened.
Rough couple of weeks for Falcons fans. Let's be clear here. Now, Kelly, having done this show with you for 10 weeks now, I've learned that you tend to play it safe at quarterback and tight end. The punt plays aren't always your favorite plays. Is there a world where Will Levis could find his way into a GPP lineup for you?
I mean, it makes sense because of who they're playing. Tampa Bay hasn't been outstanding against quarterbacks or in general. And the rostership is quite low right now, projected around 4%. And the projected points are quite high for that tier, around 14. That's pretty tempting. So people who play GPP, it's rational to say, yes, that's a good play. I am going to be hurt by Will Levis.
Yeah. Well,
and spitefully not play him.
You know,
So that means he'll
last
probably
week's,
do amazing.
I would say, last week's newest millionaire is going to have a Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins, Chigoziem Okonkwo triple stack. So,
Yes.
Austin, let's get back to your running back, because I got to be honest here. Sometimes I have your picks pretty well handled, but I have not reached a world where I can trust Aaron Jones yet. And I want to be clear. I called you out last week about not being able to trust CJ Stroud, and man, do I look fucking stupid. So maybe you're onto something here. Talk to me about Aaron Jones.
Yeah, well, first off, just looking at his salary, he's $6,500 on DraftKings and $6,800 on FanDuel. The issue with the running back pricing this week in general is there's not cheap options that I feel comfortable with from a cash perspective. And so most of my running backs are going to be 6K and above this week. And so I'm looking at guys like Aaron Jones. He got 24 touches last week. Ryan, how are you not okay with that? That's so much volume for a running back.
I'm not ready to give up on the first 8 weeks of the season yet, but I agree. It's a lot of volume.
But my thing about this is he was hurt for a few weeks, and his third game back, he has this 24 touch week, including 4 catches. So I'm thinking he's getting back in the swing of things after injury. But more importantly, Pittsburgh as a defense, like they're making splash plays on defense. And so it makes it feel like they're a really great defense and that you don't want to play against them. But on a down-to-down basis, they're giving up fantasy points to opposing players, particularly to opposing running backs. They're averaging 26 points per game allowed since week 6. And frankly, I don't trust A.J. Dillon to steal too much of the volume that it wouldn't warrant Aaron Jones having a great day. So I felt great about this pick. I think he's a safety blanket for Jordan Love, and he's efficient in the run game. So yeah, Aaron Jones, cash viable this week.
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something about him getting healthier. And this now, like you said, that was his third game, 4 games coming off of this injury. Maybe it's time to trust again. I don't know if I'll fit him into my lineups, but into my DFS lineups, but I certainly have him in a few leagues where maybe I'll let him slide into the flex spot and see what he can do for me. I like it. Let's move on to Bookworms, folks. Quiet with their nose in the books, easily underestimated, but look out. They're sharp. Austin, I'm going to let you continue with us because you have 2 of my favorite players here.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with Geno Smith. We are riding with Geno this week. Frankly, I like Geno in tournament lineups this week as well, because I think people are going to be off of him this week and the Seahawks after they got thumped by the Ravens last week. And Geno is in a prime position to pop off against Washington, who has just been getting eaten alive by opposing pass games. They've been giving up the 6th most points to quarterbacks since week 6. And I think it's time for some touchdown regression for the Seahawks. They have had so few passing touchdowns this year. We've seen them struggle in the red zone multiple times this year, particularly in that Cincinnati game where they lived in the red zone all day but scored like 14 points. And I think this is an opportunity for Geno to have a big day. He's only $5,800 on DraftKings, which is also why I really like him. His salary is really nice. He's $6,900 on FanDuel. He's like, it's wild how many quarterbacks are priced more higher than him on FanDuel. So I really actually like him on FanDuel as well. And I just think he's in a smash spot. Like if he had a 300-yard 2-touchdown day, that would not shock me at all.
Yeah, and I mean Washington just traded away their best 2 pass catchers, pass rushers rather.
Yes.
Sam Howell's first game in Seattle, and that could be something where you see turnovers out of Sam Howell, putting the Seahawks into better positions.
Yes, exactly. Nice field position, setting up Geno for some easy touchdowns. Like, sign me up.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and then next, I also have Diontae Johnson this week. So this is just a volume play. Like, You're going to open up your FanDuel, your DraftKings app, and you're going to see this red little number that tries to scare you away from playing Diontae Johnson. On the season, his opponent this week is the 8th best or the 8th worst matchup for wide receivers in Green Bay, but they've been allowing the 12th most points since week 6. So it's actually been better for receivers matching up against Green Bay in recent weeks. Diontae Johnson, he's 5,400 on DraftKings. It's still so cheap, despite the fact that he continues to get peppered with targets, and he got in the end zone last week.
Yes,
so
he did.
Touchdown regressions
What was it?
Coming,
First
baby.
time in 637 days or something.
We don't have to. We don't have to relitigate that. We could just.
Oh no! Now I'm expecting
celebrate
a 637 game scoring streak.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great opportunity for Johnson to continue to get the targets. Like, I feel good enough about Kenny Pickett that I think he can get him the ball. That's all I need. I don't need Kenny Pickett to light the world on fire. Just like get DeAndre Johnson the ball like 7 times and like catchable passes 7 times, then we'll be good.
I like it. I'm starting him in a ton of lineups this week on my redraft league. So I'm all aboard. I want to see this happen. A little behind the scenes action for everyone. I have my intro written in our show sheet, and Kelly saw that I wrote the top tight end was on bye, and she took it as all the top tight ends are on bye and was very offended for her boyfriend, Mark Andrews, and her new love affair, Sam LaPorta, who is one of your picks in this category. I do want to say, Kelly, to redeem myself, Sam LaPorta is my number 1 ranked tight end for week 10. So I like this pick quite a lot.
Okay, fine. Yes. It's been a while with Sam. Here he's back, and I like it. 5.7K on DraftKings, 6.5K on FanDuel. Highly undervalued still, in my opinion. Projected for 12 fantasy.
I agree.
I don't get it. 12 fantasy points on DraftKings. And I don't know where the 9.7 on FanDuel comes from. Give it a 10 at least. But I expect to see more, and so does everyone else. Here's another high rostered player. But when we're looking at these core picks, again, there are players that you can skip on. There are players you can't skip on. And it depends on what matchups that you prefer and where you want to spend your money. So I gave Sam LaPorta because I feel like this is a great value for what our return is going to be this week.
I have a theory, Kelly. I'm going to share it now. Before I forget it, because I tend to do this. I think this is going to be your best cash week ever, because you have all these high rostered players, and I don't know how well they're going to do in GPP, but I think this is going to be your best cash week ever. Just putting that pressure on you right now, but I have a feeling. Keep going, but that's my thought on this.
Well, then the next one I've got, we're going to take it down a notch, because you might have Chris Olave taste on a Michael Thomas budget, but have no fear. Michael Thomas projected for 10.6 points on DraftKings, 8.5 on FanDuel, with a nice low rostership of 5 to 7% and a super duper low salary, 4.5K on DraftKings, 5.8K on FanDuel. And here's the reason why this kind of stuck out at me. One, because this is a higher point projection than anybody in his tier, and that works out really well 99% of the time. I think it hit really good last week with Kate Otten, so I spotted it again this week and wanted to grab it. History. This could be his 5th game in a row against the Vikings with 5 or more receptions. So I feel like they have some history there together, and it's cheap and it's looking good.
I like it. They saw Kadero Hodge score a touchdown for Austin's Falcons last week and figure anybody can score on the Vikings if Kadero Hodge can pull it off. My note here says, remind you that you can play with us. And it occurs to me, I never even said it at the top of the show. I was way too interested to get into the main slate and all the craziness. But guess what? We don't just talk DFS. You can actually play against Austin Kelly, myself, whole bunch of people from Club Fantasy, and you. If you have $2 you want to spend on either DraftKings or FanDuel, you will find links in the description of this video, but also in Austin's article that will drop today, Kelly's article that will drop tomorrow. You're going to find links in every single one of our DFS articles so that you can play some fantasy football with us. Let's get to C's, get degrees. These are the punt plays of the week, less than $4,000. Typically, we mean that on DraftKings. It's a little bit more affordable over there. But these are the lower value players, cash-wise, that you want to get into your lineups. Kelly, go ahead and keep it rocking for us.
Okay, I've got one for you this week. And can lightning strike twice on a low-budget tight end? I don't know. But I will say, while Juwan Johnson was no Cade Otton last week, he still was a very viable low-end option. He scored a touchdown. He brought in 8.9 plus points depending on your platform. He should be on our radars again because the Vikings are not amazing against tight ends. And
you could have just stopped it. Not amazing, but
not amazing. He's projected for 5 or 6 points respectively, but looking at last week, looking at this week, I think we're looking at 8 to 10 points this week, and I'm being conservative, coupled with a very low rostership. I feel kind of good about that, like we did with Cade Otton last week.
Well, I was going to say, Austin, you have another low price tight end, and I want to give you both credit. You guys both hit the nail on the head with Cade Otton. And Austin, you defended Juwan Johnson last week. You were big on him coming back and thought that maybe Taysom Hill would take a step back. That didn't necessarily happen. But Juwan Johnson heavily involved. 5 catches on 5 targets, I think. So, again, we like him again this week. But I just want to say you should listen to these two when they talk about these low-priced tight ends because they've been right more often than they've been wrong. So, Austin, talk to me about Noah Fant, a name I didn't know that I would ever hear again.
Yeah, so Noah Fant, 2,800 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel. Look, I said I'm playing Christian McCaffrey, so that means I'm going to get
save money somewhere.
I'm going to get real down and dirty somewhere else, and that's happening with Noah Fant this week. It's been rough. I get it. He's had 1 catch a couple of games this year. He's had some 4-target games this year. And first off, like I said with Geno Smith, I think it's time for some touchdown regression. So I'm praying he falls in the end zone. That's all I need. 1 catch for 1 yard and a touchdown. Good. We hit it. But Seattle has the second best matchup for tight ends this week when looking at points allowed since week 6. I'm forgetting their opponent, and I didn't put
Washington.
it in my notes.
It comes back to your Geno Smith.
Oh, yeah. Washington. Duh. Yeah. Washington's been allowing the second most points to tight end since week 6. Boom. Incredible. It could be Noah Fant. It could be Colby Parkinson. It could be Will Disley.
Yeah, they were using all 3 of them pretty evenly for a while there.
But I went and looked through, and I'm like, you know what? Noah Fant's still the most utilized, and he's basically the same price as the other 2 as well. So it's like, okay, if it's the same salary, I'm picking between these 3 guys. I'm going to pick the one that they traded for and probably the best trade that they've ever made in their franchise history.
Yeah, I would say so at this point. And then I want to just move on to your defense because I love that you're just owning up like, look, I want really expensive players. So I'm getting down into the dirt for my last 2 picks. But Kelly has to be happy to hear some positive mention of her Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's positive. I'll give it to you. It's also just me admitting defeat.
They also happen to be taking on your Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, it's me admitting defeat on my Atlanta Falcons. You know, I was going into this year like, I'm in it for the vibes. There are no vibes anymore. So I'm just going to happiness hedge this out the wazoo and go Arizona Cardinals. 2,500 on DraftKings, 3,700 on FanDuel. Even with Taylor Heineke under center, he's turning the ball over. Atlanta's prone to sacks. They're not using their stars. I don't know. I think I should get like a point every time that Bijan Robinson isn't on the field for the Cardinals this week. I think that would just, that just would be justice. That's all I'm asking for. But no, I want the salary savings, and it doesn't take much for the Cardinals to pay off. And I just don't trust the Falcons offense. I do think they're going to pop off at some point. In 1 week, they're going to have one weird week where they score like 40 points. It could be this week, but I'm not betting on it.
Taylor Heineke's not afraid to turn the ball over either. So I think it's a very, very fair bet. We're moving on to prop quiz, as always, brought to you by BetStamp. BetStamp funnels all of your betting and DFS needs into one singular site. It's the best bang for your bets. You can use the link in the description of this video to see which sites are available in your state and get signed up for any of the applicable bonuses when you sign up. Let's talk player props, Austin.
Yeah. So first off, I'm going to plug a new site this week because
Ooh.
I used that little BetStamp link in the.
I say Austin is having fun with BetStamp. You're finding all new places now. So
And I landed at Boom.
I say I read this. You had it in here. It says plug Boom. I didn't even know what it was. So this is completely new.
It's available in like 23 states, something like
Okay.
that. It's prop betting, just like Underdog, just like Thrive. But they have some fun features that I'm a fan of. So you can do just your typical like over under, they call them toss-ups, which is fun. But they have a different game that is called long shots, where they have props that are inflated and you can pick up to 3. And if you get all 3 correct, you get 40x on your payment.
Oh my.
So it's a way that they're kind of like getting odds into their app without it being a sports book. My favorite though is that they have your favorites, which they basically are like, can Aaron Jones rush for 40 yards this week? It's like, yeah, Aaron Jones can rush for 40 yards. It's everything is like way easier for them to hit. Now the payouts are less, but it's a nice way to build your bankroll.
Okay.
Right. So like if you pick 3 players in this category, it's a 1.8x payout. So $10 translates to $18. So it's just like a bankroll strategy to me. And a pairing that I like this week is putting Aaron Jones over 39.5 rushing yards, Lamar Jackson over 25 rushing yards, and Mark Andrews over 28.5 receiving yards.
I think Kelly would agree with all of those picks.
That sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
Sounds very fun.
For my actual prop bets, last week we went 3 of 6, so I'm now 54% on the year, still above 50%, which I feel good about. We're going with the Kenny Pickett under 204.5 passing yards. This is on all 3 of the platforms that I play: Underdog, Thrive, and Boom. This line started at like 211, 214. It went all the way down to 200 at one point, and it's come back up. So I feel okay about still taking the under at this point.
Yeah.
I also talked about Aaron Jones. I'm taking his rushing yard over. It's 52.5 on Underdog and Boom. It's 53.5 on Thrive. Geno Smith. This one is really fun. Started at 244.5 passing yards. It is moved all the way up to 261.5 passing yards, and I'm still taking the over because I am that in on Geno this year. That's its mark on Underdog and Boom. It's a little bit lower on Thrive at 260. Brian Robinson over 44.5 rushing yards. I think that even though Seattle has been good against the run for most of the year, they can be had. And so I am taking the over at 44.5. It's on all 3 platforms. And then I see this getting highlighted in the show sheet, and I see some folks are probably going to be upset about this. I'm taking Amon-Ra St. Brown's under on 83.5 receiving yards.
I normally don't even make you explain these, but you have to explain this one because Kelly and I are appalled.
Well, as you know, David Montgomery is set to play this week.
He is.
And I can see Detroit just trying to run the damn ball all over the Los Angeles Chargers. And I do think that while the Chargers' season-long stats look really bad, they have been playing better in recent weeks, and they're starting to figure some things out. So I'm feeling more optimistic about the Chargers defense and less optimistic that Jared Goff is just going to pump the ball to for 250 yards all game. I think it's going to be a grinded out type of game. He can still get there in DFS, just for the record. Like, he can get 2 touchdowns and it's all going to be good, and like 10 catches for 80 yards. But I like betting on the under this week.
All right. I'm still not sold, but I'm heartbroken. Kelly, before you get into your picks, do you have a promo code for Underdog? Because I feel like you have single-handedly put spicy picks on your back and just made it a thing. We have people talking to us about the spicy picks, excited that they're on Android, and I feel like you deserve some credit. So if you do have a promo code for yourself or anywhere you work, feel free to plug it on this show. And if you don't, you should look into getting one, because I think Underdog owes you some money. Just me putting it out there that I feel like you have put Underdog on the map. But anyway, go ahead and get your picks out there.
Those spicy picks are spicy. I have one this week, and it's not going to surprise you that it's going to be Mark Andrews for any kind of touchdown. And I just feel like this is going to be a very tough game for the Ravens, and Mark Andrews is the security blanket for Lamar. So I feel that they're like, I'm there for you, bro.
I love it.
Mark Andrews.
I played this game, 5 weeks ago, where I said, the Browns are no. Mark Andrews, I'll take 2 anytime touchdowns with Mark Andrews at this point.
Let's do it. So Mark Andrews, that's the spicy bet for him to just score. Then I've got DK Metcalf. The rest of these are based off of some of the information that I gave to you today, and also players in my player profiler DFS article. So we have DK Metcalf coming in with 5 or more receptions. It's right on the button of 5. I'm going to press my luck and go higher. It's the trend is 5 or more for DK. This is going to probably be a great week, so I feel okay about that. The Sun God, I'm disagreeing with Austin. I'm going to follow the data. I'm following the trend. I'm following his stats. And
you said 4 consecutive with 100 yards or whatever. So.
Yep, because the 83.5 is a lot of room between 100 yards. So 100 or more. I feel good about higher on Amon-Ra St. Brown. Joe Mixon, this is going to be however many games I said that he'll score. So we've got a scoring prop higher than 0.5 for Joe Mixon. And DeAndre Hopkins, his stat was 60 yards or more, and they've got him at 61.5. I'll take it.
I like it. Kelly plays the history game, and so she's betting on these guys keeping those streaks alive. I like it. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end of the show. Reminder, you can play with us. We're about to announce some lineups. For Kelly, this will be the lineup she plays against you. For Austin, it won't be. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's the Valedictorian Shootout, where these two go head-to-head in DraftKings scoring. And while Austin did win the on-show competition, 151 to 113 last week, if you played in our DraftKings contest, you saw that Kelly actually beat Austin in that contest. So Austin, you playing a different lineup came back to bite you, but at least for the show, you're now 8-1. So I'm going to let you announce your lineup first this week.
Yeah. It's one of those things when I have tried playing my same cash lineup as a tournament in our tournaments, it doesn't work for me. And then when I just am like, whatever, do something different for the tournament, for the show league, it always bites me in the butt. But for this week, a lot of players that we've talked about, but a lot of players that you're going to have to read my article to hear what I have to say about them. So first off, at quarterback, no surprise here. We have Geno Smith at 5,800. Going with a 3 running back build right now. Not convinced I want 3 running backs in my lineup this week right now, but so far we're doing it. It's going to
be on your show lineup.
It is going to be on my show lineup. Christian McCaffrey, 9,200. David Montgomery at 6,900. And Aaron Jones at 6,500. My receivers, I have Zay Flowers at 5,700.
What?
Diontae Johnson at 5,400. And Marquise Hollywood Brown at 5,200.
This is a Kelly lineup right here.
And then we go Noah Fant as my tight end at 2,800. And the Arizona Cardinals, that's my defense at 2,500. And I have no salary left over.
Ooh. So, yeah, these are a lot of Kelly's favorite players you've managed to work into this lineup. So I'm going to be interested to see what you guys might have in common this week. Kelly, what do you got for me?
I like throwing shade over here, not because, I love those players, but this week I'm like, so
even though they're I guess I'm saying it's a Kelly lineup, but it's really just Zay Flowers and Hollywood Brown. I feel like I know you typically enjoy. So.
It's going to be rough.
I like it.
Play that. Please play that.
I said, Kelly, I think this is it. I'm putting way too much pressure on you here, but I think your picks from this show are very tilted towards cash lineups. And then we think Austin got a little wild. So let's hear it, Kelly. How are you beating him this week?
I'm still working through it.
Of course. I can only delay so long, Kelly.
I know. It's been a long day, like I told you, and I can't believe I had all my notes in so early.
Never did the lineup.
And then now I don't have a lineup.
Yeah,
So
for the first time all year, I came to put my player picks in the
Kelly
show
was
sheet,
already
and I was
in.
like, oh my God, they're already there.
Yep.
they're already there because I was trying to be so efficient.
There was 2 weeks ago, Kelly did her player picks while I was saying the intro. She was typing them into the doc still. So
That is very true. There are just days like that.
It is.
But
absolutely.
I'm working through it right now. I got my defense. I'm going to pull that. Oh, who did I say?
Well, I'll give you a few seconds to build your lineup, and I will announce that. So last week, as I mentioned, we run a contest every single week on FanDuel and on DraftKings. And not only can you win a little bit of cash, you can also get your name announced on the show. Last week, Chris Molina, one of our writers, ChrisMo2413, won the DraftKings League with 138 points, we believe. This might be his second time winning the league. And Erdit won the FanDuel League. This is his third time winning the FanDuel League, 115 points. Now, Austin, when you have it as the 3-time winner, this is his third time winning on FanDuel. Not like if he has the same username on DraftKings, you're not like mixing them up that way, are you?
Right.
Okay, just wondering. Just for my own and to delay for Kelly. Kelly, I've reached the end of being able to delay for you. Do you
I'm
have
ready.
a lineup for me? Let's do it. Okay.
It's a little wonky, but I think it's fine.
Now I'm
Geno
nervous.
Smith.
Made fun of my lineup. Comes back with a wonky lineup.
Geno Smith.
No. I know. Geno Smith. Joe Mixon.
Okay.
David Montgomery.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins. Tyler Lockett. Michael Thomas. Sam LaPorta. Dalton Schultz randomly.
Oh, there's the Kelly 2 tight end special.
Yeah, buddy. And New Orleans Saints defense, which I added in my article this week at Player Profiler.
I don't think it's that wonky, and I will stand by. I think you're going to have your best week of the season, and you are going to beat Austin. Folks, that is the end of the show. Before I get out of here, once again, congratulations to ChrisMo2413 and Erdit on winning our leagues last week. Check the links in the description of this video and in all of our DFS articles to play with us on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Austin, let everybody know what you're working on, where they can find it.
Yeah, my Week 10 DFS Cash article will be dropping today. You can go get that clubfantasyffl.com, or you can follow me on X at Austin_FFL, where I'll also tweet out the link to that, and we'll see you next week.
There you go. Kelly, same deal.
Just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Kelly in Phoenix, and you'll find everything that I'm up to over there.
There you go. Kelly does you guys the favor of putting this article into written form that comes out on Saturdays at clubfantasyffl.com. You can follow us on all the socials at clubfantasyffl. We drop 3 DFS articles every single week to help you guys win some cash. And if you happen to be watching us on YouTube, just hit subscribe. We're trying to work our way to 1,000 to monetize this thing so we can pay these people for the great work that they are currently giving you for free because they love you so much. So hit subscribe. And look, we are 10 weeks in on the season, and a couple members of your league are probably facing the reality that they are not going to make the fantasy playoffs. If you are one of those unlucky few, don't worry. DFS is here to keep your Sundays interesting, and we'll be here to help you. See you next week.